I've seen some people that I know online, and they'll post things, and it's not a loving sharing of information. You know what I mean? And so it becomes a very messy area. I can see why it can go downhill very, very fast, especially online.
Oh, yeah.
You're hiding behind the keyboard.
Yes. I would say to try to engage in this kind of a conversation purely online, I just don't think it's a good idea. I think it can start there, but then agree to meet for coffee or have a phone call or something, not just back and forth commenting on social media, because the kinds of conversations you have are very different there than when you're sitting across from the person, looking them in the eye, and realizing, oh, this is another human being that I'm engaging with. Somehow we lose track of that often online.
Please just hold your breath. Every door looks better when you keep it closed. Keep your head down and don't watch your step. No point in even trying now, just let it go. Maybe they will write the same for me. Maybe this was really just a dream. Don't wanna take that risk and try to see. A 9 to 5 will bring security, I'm sure, but I can guarantee you that's no way to live. Way to live. Promise that's no way to live. Way to live.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod. My name is Denise Acosta.
And I'm Brooke Ackerman.
And today we're going to talk about what it's like to have friends that have different faith than you do. And the answer is to just stop being friends with them. Thanks for coming to the episode. We'll see you next week. Just kidding, you guys. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh. I know I can edit things. And I know that's not real, but for some reason my chest just went, okay.
I'd have to wipe out my entire contacts list. And I don't plan to do that.
Good.
I like my friends.
Good.
And I like the differences that we have for the most part.
Yeah, but they can make things a little tricky sometimes.
It is. Yeah. You know, sometimes you can have healthy conversations and debates about things, and sometimes, no, you can't. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's too heated, and then feelings, get really excited.
There's a friend of mine used to say, there's a lot of energy there. It's a lot of energy.
Yeah. The big feelings come out, and we care about these people, and sometimes that can be rough. So this will be a fun conversation.
Oh, it sure is. It's going to be so fun. Just this is a general question for you. The idea, because when you said, you can debate things, the whole style of discussion of debating two different sides of an issue, is that something you generally enjoy, or is that something that you are not real fond of?
I really enjoy it. If I know that the other person is not getting offended, and we are actually sharing points and we're explaining different points of views and taking time to understand where they're coming from, or just take into account whatever that is. But if I know that no one's actually offended in this conversation, and we really are exchanging information and viewpoints, I love that. I have a good time in those conversations. I do genuinely enjoy it. You?
I'm not a huge fan.
No?
No. And it doesn't matter if we're just having a healthy conversation, or because I think the reason I say that I don't enjoy it is because more often than not it turns into argument.
Yeah.
And there are very few topics that the topic and proving who's right or wrong is more important to me than the person and the connection that I have. And so I end up feeling like this topic isn't this important to me, so why are we fighting? Is how it ends up feeling, even though that's not necessarily how we start out. There's a particular friend that is coming to mind who really enjoys the general verbal and mental sparring, like the debate of any topic. And it could be something very trivial, but it's not trivial to him because he likes the idea of the mental. And I don't know, that feels to me like this feels like homework. Why are we doing this? Can we just play a game of Uno? Can we just I don't really care. This is not that important to me. And so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe the conversation needs to not disintegrate into argument, and then I'll feel differently about it.
Well, I think you brought up a solid point in that the need to be right.
Yeah.
It brings it down to, why is the discussion taking place in the first place, right? Why are we even having this? What is the end goal? I don't have this need to be right about things, right? Like, that's not a thing for me. I'm not fighting to prove my point and you're wrong and I'm right. I'm just really enjoying sharing information.
Yeah.
To me, that's what that is.
Yeah.
And so I have been with people that if that is the goal, if it's very much an I'm right, you're wrong situation, then no, I don't want to be in that conversation. Like, you can't play, you're getting too hyper for me. This is too personal for you now.
Yes.
And the end goal isn't actually like what is fact and information. It is just more, I need to be right about something.
Yes.
And I don't engage in those conversations. I don't like those.
No.
I have a friend of mine. Hi, Monty, if you're listening. We've been friends for ages. Like, I don't know, probably 15 years at this point. He's a very devout Catholic, and I'm very non-denominational Christian. He has spent a lot of time studying the Bible and, even taking some classes on priesthood and, and me doing whatever I've been doing. So in the last 5 years, I've been able to have more theological conversations with him. And fundamentally, there are some significant differences between Catholicism and Christianity. And man, I just have the best time having conversations with him. Like, we have had nights where we're hanging out and we got like a fire going and we're just hours sharing about different things. Like, oh, do you remember, Jesus did this on this particular moment, and like, what was your take on that? And this is like what I got from that. And then at some point we do get to those differences in our faith where we branch off, right? It's like, well, I believe this, and in my faith it's this, and that's how that conversation goes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, for us, so we believe this. It's not like, oh, well, you're wrong because it's this. And so it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Like, well, where did that come from? And then he'll explain. I'm like, oh, okay, I can see like where you're going at with that. And so, I may or may not agree with that. And so for me, this is what it was. For me, this is what I felt. This is what I interpreted. And so we've done that for hours, like multiple times. And we just have such a great time. No one's getting mad.
Yeah.
We have common ground. We'll exchange information, or, oh, I didn't think about that point, or whatever. And I feel so good about it. One, because these are not conversations I used to be able to engage in.
Yeah.
So that makes it like really fun for me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm learning things that I've been doing. And then there are other conversations that I'll have with other friends, and it's very much not that.
Yes.
It's very much like, well, as a Christian, don't you believe this? And it's like, let's where that's coming from, the way that came out.
Right.
Like, I have concerns.
Yes. I'll say, maybe I need to come hang out with you and Monty. Monty, can I come hang out with the two of you?
We have a ton of fun.
Yeah. Because I the way that you're describing that conversation, I'm like, yes, that sounds very interesting to me, but I don't know what it is. I don't know why the people that I've even like started down the road with just a little bit, it turns into the other version that you were starting to say. There's some energy there. Where is this coming from?
No, I super value that relationship.
Yeah.
Like, I remember even towards the beginning, like the first few years of me being intentional, and there are times that I'm still learning stuff, right? And he would tell me, he's like, oh, I think maybe for you guys, maybe it's this. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And it's never,
it's a let's see where we have things that we can come to agreement in, or similarities. It's not let's absolutely focus on divisive and what separates us.
It's mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
You'd have a good time with him.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Okay, so you said something. I have a question. And you're not the only person I've heard say it this way, and so now I'm curious, because I was raised Catholic, and when people would say it this way, I was always like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Because to say the difference between Catholicism and Christianity, and I don't know, I think of Catholic as still Christian. It's just, usually it's Catholicism and then Protestant faiths. Like I said, you're not the only person I've heard say it this way, but is it do people view Catholicism as not Christian?
I think there are groups of people that do, and then groups of people that don't. Wow, breaking news.
This just in, ladies and gentlemen.
In case you didn't know. One of the reasons I say it that way is I don't know the differences between, like, you know, Protestant and Presbyterian. Well, I guess Protestant is the umbrella of that.
Right.
But to phrase it in that way, to use that kind of language.
So I think of Christianity as, do you believe Jesus is the Savior, that Christ died? You know what I mean? Like that he's the Son of God. Like, and at least the Catholic Church I went to, yes, all of those things were still held at, like that was part of the belief.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, just when I hear to say that
it's not.
Yeah, I'm like, so then what is it then? Because I've always thought of it as Christianity is like the bigger umbrella, and then underneath that umbrella there's Catholic, and then there's all the Protestant
big emotion
faiths.
for where that is most likely coming from is all the saints that are attributed to the Catholic faith, and that those who practice the faith pray to these saints, and so the Bible says not to do that, so that then makes them idols.
Yes.
That you're praying to and worshiping. And so that's very not of the Christian faith. And so from the conversations I've had, that's been the biggest.
That's like the dividing
factor for why they're not under that umbrella. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what that is. I think it's very healthy to have those conversations. And I've said this in episodes before, how I used to not be confrontational at all. I didn't want to engage in any kind of situation or conversation that somebody could get upset about. I just didn't want to be there. It was uncomfortable for me. What if I don't have all the answers anyway? Why am I even spending energy on this? But I have learned the benefits of having these hard conversations. Now, they don't feel hard in the scenario that I've presented with my friend Monty.
Yeah.
They feel very easy, and it's somebody that I'm comfortable with. It's somebody that I trust. It's not some stranger off the street, which I think plays a big factor. There's a lot of years there. There's friendship.
Right.
You care about each other, and you can have those conversations safely in a loving manner. But also you learn more about the person, not just their beliefs, but how they actually think. Like critical thinking, what is it that sticks out to you that attracted you to that way of thinking? You know, this area is obviously important to you, and you just learn more about somebody. And then if they can debate a topic without being mean and rude and hurtful,
yes,
you know, that's a emotional intelligence level that we don't see all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and that's not easy for everyone, because these are things that are important to you, especially of faith, right? This is like what you live your life around. These are the beliefs that have shaped you. And so they are very personal. Salvation is very personal. So it becomes hard, because then you also get to the whole situation where what you believe you think is the only way. And so because you care about that other person, you want them to see it that way too, because you want them to be saved. And so, and there's a lot of smaller print that goes under that umbrella, right? Because what do you mean when you say that?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? Because there are factors that are, you know, actually nothing to do with salvation. It's just details that you disagree on. And then there are things that actually are. And so, and that's just between two people of the Christian faith,
right,
where we have Jesus in the conversation, and that's who we believe in and have accepted as our Lord and Savior. But then you have completely other ones. You know, like another girlfriend of mine, she's Jewish, and she's always been so supportive. All the stuff that I'm doing with Misfit of Creation, you know, anything about scripture, she's really excited, asks me how things are going. You know, and we just have a great time. And there are things that will come up with the Jewish faith that I, you know, maybe didn't know in the past before, and she'll explain it to me. And those are healthy conversations. There are times when it just may not be. Like, I've seen some people that I know online, and they'll post things, and it's not a loving sharing of information. You know what I mean? And so it becomes a very messy area. I can see why it can go downhill very, very fast especially online.
Oh, yeah.
You're hiding behind the keyboard.
Yes. I would say to try to engage in this kind of a conversation purely online, I just don't think it's a good idea. I think it can start there, but then agree to meet for coffee or have a phone call or something, not just back and forth commenting on social media, because the kinds of conversations you have are very different there than when you're sitting across from the person, looking them in the eye, and realizing, oh, this is another human being that I'm engaging with. Somehow we lose track of that often online, and it doesn't usually go well.
We're supposed to be representing our faith.
Yes.
So we may be the only experience that someone will have of that. And if we are being very unkind, it's not very helpful. It's also not accurate.
No.
I think of any faith, really.
Yes.
Most faiths have, be a good person. You know what I mean?
There's usually some version of that in there somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, but then even that, what does that mean? If you're a good person, to be a good person, what does that mean? Because that can go so many different directions. And so that's why I'm saying, if it starts online, that's totally fine. But then maybe agree to actually sit across from each other and have a conversation.
There's a reason why we get to the beliefs that we do. And I think if we find that out, we have a lot better chance of...
Yes. Yeah, if you approach the conversation from a sense of curiosity rather than I have to prove you wrong or I have to prove me right. Because, I don't know, the conversations, the way you're describing them with your friend Monty, I'm not kidding. I think I want to talk to Monty. Like, let's have a conversation, because that sounds like it would be enlightening and it would widen the field of vision rather than narrowing it down to, no, it has to be like this. And to understand other people's perspectives and where their beliefs came from. And that's fascinating to me. Let's do more of that. Yeah.
There's also the whole, well, you have to share the truth. Are you shying away from your faith by not saying something to keep the peace? There's a lot of responses we can go with that. I think, and we can get into some of them, but I think if we're keeping I don't know if priority is a word, the important thing at the top of all these conversations, and that's loving your neighbor, right? Shut up and love your neighbor.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
That'll make more sense soonish down the road once.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's my little nugget that I'm going to throw in for you guys as we tease that. If that is really at the core of things, then all of this is valuable. All of it's good. All those differences are going to help us grow in our understanding of our own faith and them as a person and what we need to know about them. But, I can also understand the whole, well, I just don't want to get into it. I just want to keep the peace.
Yeah, but usually that doesn't, usually keep the peace isn't what we're actually doing when we say it that way. So that's not helpful. You're like, yeah, I know. Been there.
Yeah. And I can understand why somebody doesn't want to engage in these things.
So when you said if we're not speaking the truth, then are we compromising? Brian Bales. Hey, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
I've heard him say this phrase a number of times for all kinds of different situations. He's like, yes, we speak the truth, but we speak the truth in love. And he said the way he said it, and I thought it was so funny because I'm a visual learner, and so the picture of this has always been helpful to me. He's like, you don't have to take the truth and wrap it around a brick and throw it through the window of my soul. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not loving.
Yeah.
That's not kind. So let's, yes, speak the truth, but can we do it in a way that's not painful, damaging, hurtful, unkind to whomever it is that's on the other side of that conversation?
Yeah.
Because that's not what Jesus said to do. That's not the example he set for us.
Yeah.
So why do we think that we can't sprinkle a little Jesus salt on our nasty comment and say it's truth? And well, I can't help it that you were offended by it. I can't help it that it landed. No, you do have some responsibility in how you deliver whatever it is that you're saying.
Yeah. And this whole, well, I'm just a very direct person. I'm just blunt. I just say it how it is. Okay. Me too. You don't see me out here trying to throw a brick into your soul. There's ways around, like, do you want to be effective about it? Is the end goal to have a positive outcome? Do you even want them to maybe see your side? Because that's not how to do it. It's a very quick way to shut that door.
Right.
Windows closed down sound. Yeah. And that's how that happens. It's tough. And there's so many different facets to just this conversation of different faiths too. Like even the same faith.
Yeah. I was going to say, it doesn't even have to be that we're in a different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have more uncomfortable, unkind conversations with other Christians than I do with someone of a different faith. Someone from a different faith, we're all great. Everyone that I've met, at least, very kind. Just, everybody's kind. Kumbaya. You know what I mean? And then you talk to another Christian and it's like, it's like World War III is breaking out. And it's like, that don't make sense to me.
Right.
Make it make sense.
Yeah.
We're reading the same book, right? We are reading that book, right?
What book is that, Denise?
The Bible. A lot of people out here having conversations about things and not having actually read the Bible before. Jesus is the example. You just already said that, and he's modeled how we're supposed to be engaging in these conversations, even with people that are outright enemies, with Judas, and just other people.
This is another thing that Brian Bale said that was very helpful, just in the phrasing that he used, was when you're having these kinds of conversations to ask the person, and not in a belligerent way, but just in a way that continues the conversation. Where did you get that? Mm-hmm. Like, in other words, show me in Scripture where did you get this? Because he was telling me one time about a conversation, and I don't know who this person is. He didn't even tell me what the conversation was about. It was just that they were coming at it from very different viewpoints. And the person said to him, well, that's just my opinion. And you're absolutely allowed to have an opinion, but when you're talking to somebody about something that's very, should be rooted in faith and rooted in Scripture, your opinion really, quite frankly, does not matter.
Yeah.
Because you can say that the sky is green and you're wrong because it's not. But if in a faith conversation, where did you get that? Show me where you found this in Scripture. Show me where you're basing this from. And it's not belligerent. It's not trying to prove somebody right or wrong. It's just, are we coming at this from the same angle?
Right.
Or at least close to the same angle? Because if not, that's a different conversation.
And are we willing to look at things from a different perspective?
Yes.
Are we willing to learn something new in this conversation?
Yeah.
Are we willing to acknowledge that maybe we aren't
right?
Yeah.
Oh, I know that's a hard one for a lot of people. And for a very long time that was a hard one for me, and not because I absolutely had to be right, but the feeling of feeling stupid. That was just a really hard thing for me to navigate, just for all kinds of reasons, which is a whole other conversation. But yeah, John Ackerman, hi John, has really over the years been very, very helpful for me to realize that putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, actively trying to see something from another person's perspective, that doesn't make you wrong, that doesn't make you stupid, it doesn't make you foolish, it's actually really, it's connecting. To be willing to say, this is how I see it, but I wonder if this person sees it this way. I wonder if whatever happened in their lives, however their growing up years shaped them, I wonder if this is how it's so helpful.
Yeah.
Yes, I have my viewpoint, but I'm not locked into it, and it's actually been really beneficial in so many ways to be willing to let my perspective kind of feel more like Play-Doh, like it's malleable, it can change. That doesn't mean that I totally abandon everything I've ever believed. Yeah. And I think that's what people think, is that they've seen it this way for so long, and so now if they change their mind, then that negates everything. No, it doesn't.
Right.
You get new information, and then you do better from here on. Right. And then you get new information, and then you do better from here on. That's just life and learning and changing and growing.
Yeah. You hit something for me too that I spent a lot of time on, was not wanting to look stupid or feel stupid. And that presented itself in a lot of areas in different ways. But for this conversation, what came to mind is I used to I wouldn't even ask questions. Right? Like I was like, no, because then they'll know I don't know anything. And then I'll look stupid. Like just be quiet. And man, have I learned way more from asking those dumb questions that I was so afraid of asking, and it's actually empowering. It's empowering, and it has empowered me, because you can't make me feel bad or stupid, right? Like I'm the one that's at least asking the questions so that I can have new information, so that I can make better decisions and move from there, and I'm not choosing, because there's a choice to stay close-minded about things. Information is coming all the time. Things are changing. People change their minds. People are learning new things. And, we can't be the only ones staying stuck in our mentality about things. That's not helpful. It's hurtful to ourselves, and it's certainly not helpful to society. We're trying to improve our society and all that. And so I have let go of the whole, I don't want to look stupid, and have found, highly recommend you guys, if you haven't tried it, ask those dumb questions. Even oh, what does that word mean? Yeah. Tell me what that word means. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't learn it. Oh, you hear it 3 times a week? Like I haven't. So that's okay though. What does it mean?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So now I have that information. Okay, cool. So now what does that mean in the context of this? And man, that is completely changed things for me in the best way, especially in these conversations. People are getting really hyper about things and passionate about certain areas that they're discussing and beliefs that they have. Well, let's find out more about that. What are you afraid of losing if you don't get this particular thing? Let's talk about that. Where is this actually coming from? And I think if we all took some more time to have that zoom out of our situation, of this conversation, it would just be better for everyone. And we would be better at those conversations. And the whole world would be a better place.
It's so interesting to me that you, at one time, were reluctant to ask questions, because I've only ever known you to be very willing to ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's a new thing. Yeah. Well, in 5 years.
Yeah.
When I became in touch about my faith, because I wasn't asking anything for most of my life, and I'm just, just sucking in whatever information ends up making it my way.
Yeah.
And obviously none of that was working for me in life. And I got to the point where I was like, everything I'm doing isn't working. And so you want to see a change, you got to do something new that you haven't done. And what does that mean? That means asking questions and actually learning about things, and not just being quiet in the back seat and being scared to look dumb.
Yeah.
Because that being scared to look dumb has kept me exactly where I'm at. And I don't want to do that anymore. And so I became a firecracker, right? I'm just whatever it is, I'm asking a question. I don't care what it is, how insane it sounds, how off the wall the wording is. I used to ask some pretty off the wall things about scripture. And I know that the way I worded it, I was very cognizant of that, in that it sounded like I was not pro Jesus. And I asked it that way for a reason. And I love my small group for that. It was never you just don't believe or you don't love Jesus. It was very kind and let's talk about it. And we got through it. And so, you know what I mean? I'm a better person for it.
So give me an example of a question that you asked that.
I'm trying to remember. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head now, but it's a hard question that oh, well, if God's so loving, then how did this happen?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I could have just been hey, I understand that the Bible says God is loving and this is happening. And for a lot of times I would ask things in that way, but there were certain times that I would intentionally ask it in the way that I did. One, because I also want to see how they respond to a question being worded that way. What is the behavioral response?
Yeah.
Because if you are responding kindly, that's who I want to be spending more time with and learning more from. There's so many opportunities in these kinds of conversations, the really uncomfortable ones too. Preferably have them with people that you trust.
Right. Yes.
But sometimes people are just super nasty and rude, and you really can't do much about that other than maybe this isn't a good time to have that conversation, right? And you just, obviously something is going on there.
Yeah.
And, let God work through that. But having conversations with friends or people that you love of different faith is good and it can be really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. So are there things that you are aware of that you used to, like, you would approach conversations a certain way that, well, this didn't go well, and so now you've adjusted how you approach that same topic or ask a different kind of question, or do you know what I mean? Like, are there, and I'm not asking you to throw anybody under the bus or, you know, give real specific details so people are like, oh my gosh, Denise is talking about me.
Incredibly fictional.
But, you know, it's more scenario. The, like, what have we learned by, oh, I don't want to do that again, and so I've adjusted and now I approach it this way. So it's more that.
I think for me, I definitely pay attention to who's willing and desiring to grow. Mm-hmm. And so if those conversations get a little uncomfortable, but I can tell that that person wants to grow, then I'm willing to engage in it again. There are some people in my life that's not the case. Yeah. And they are very set at where they're at. And I just don't bring anything up.
Yeah, and isn't that sad? Because I was the same thing. I was thinking of different people that it's like, okay, I know you're basically cemented here, and that's your choice. And I'm not saying you're wrong and this is terrible, but I am very reluctant then to have a conversation with that person, which is sad because I really like conversations. Yeah. Like, I like exploring what you think and what I think, but yeah, And I think, at least the people that I'm thinking of in my life, I know that's not what they want. I know they would prefer to have a conversation, but I don't think they realize how the way that they handle those kinds of topics or conversations. I don't think they realize the effect that their way has, that it's shutting things down. Yeah. And they're unintentionally contributing to the exact thing that they don't want. Right. And I can't even approach that with them because of how they would then receive that. And so it's just kind of like, okay, well, we're just going to talk about surface level things, even though neither of us want that. But here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are definitely disappointing situations. Yeah. I've definitely have some of those. Yeah. And then we just like find, oh, you know, like you said,
very surface
level. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, did you see the game? Oh, yeah, that was great. You still watch sports? Okay, great. I hope both teams win.
I just hope both teams had fun.
Yeah. For me, like, that's a hard space. I feel like today, I am doing better with it. But there was definitely a good amount of time as I'm growing in my faith, being more intentional about it. Very disheartening to the more Christians I engaged with, the less they wanted to even have conversations about things. Like, I've said it before, the feeling of being too Christian for the heathens, too heathen for the Christians. And so then, like, as I'm learning more about my faith and then sharing about it, you know, I'm not welcomed with a ton of praise. And that was hard for me because I'm like, what? I'm finally like came to the light and I'm understanding and I want to learn more and grow more. And you're very much like not interested in engaging. And so like that one was tough. Cause it's like, we're the same faith. Yeah. I thought.
Yeah, that had to be very disappointing.
Yeah. So now, you know, I just found my peoples.
Yeah. I think I've realized over the years that asking questions seems to be a softer way to draw out someone. If there is a genuine curiosity of, well, where did you get that? Where did you find that? What in your life helped shape that belief for you? You know, it's the more that it feel like if the questions are more taking an interest in the person, then it seems like it's okay if we don't have the same viewpoint, because I'm not going to argue your story with you. And you can't really argue mine with me. Like, it's my life experience. That's your life experience. And we can find common ground in there somewhere, even if we've had very, very different experiences. And so that has been a way that's been really helpful when I know I have a different viewpoint, or we've had wildly different experiences, or we have very different beliefs. But if I can find well, tell me about the part of your life where that really took shape, or why that has become a very strong belief for you, that it's a genuine interest in the other person. And like I said, I'm not going to argue somebody else's story. Like, that's their lived experience, which also then helps me understand so much more about that person, which can help when it's, oh, this is a sensitive topic and we don't see eye to eye here, but now I understand why you feel so strongly about it, and I can respect why that came about for you, or you know what I mean? It's just, that seems to have helped a lot in different situations.
And that's not common. That's not a common mentality. That's not a common way of thinking. I would even say to some, it's a far-fetched way of thinking, something that has not even crossed their mind to consider. And I don't say that in like a judgmental or like degrading kind of a way. Like, you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Goes back to the whole being curious is just way better, right? Because there is more to consider. The picture is bigger. If we zoom out, we get more information. And that way of thinking is far better. And there is more connection.
Yeah.
You know, in those relationships, and there is better understanding, and yeah, you just have a much better relationship, and you can have those conversations. That's kind of sad though, that I do feel like I'll get in conversations sometimes and I'm like, oh, well, there's no point in continuing, because at this point where my head's at is just like completely different level that I think is not making its way into this conversation. So next topic. I think there are times when you're faced with the question, do you still keep this friendship or do you not?
Oh my gosh. Have you been spying on my life? I just had a conversation with Polly Hamp.
Hi, Polly.
Very recently. She was like, this is a friendship that you've had for a very long time. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, did it form when you were a different person? Did it start? And I was like, yeah, yes. And she's like, do you feel like that friendship has grown with you, or has it stayed the same and you've moved? And I was like, dang it. Now I have to really examine, is this a friendship that I hold on to? Because I am a very different person than when this friendship formed. My life looks very different now than when this friendship formed.
Right.
Yeah. So this one's a very timely question you're asking here, Denise Acosta.
It's a challenging area for me. Mm-hmm. I remember I was out with a buddy of mine and we were catching up, and I think I was sharing about having closed the business and I'm jumping into ministry and, you know, I'm not making any money. And they were so shocked and so like, you're in a cult and I can't believe I've lost you, Denise. I can't believe I've lost you. And it was serious. They were really concerned.
Oh my gosh.
And we're in a public setting. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is traumatic. You know, like, yeah. And it's like, because your pastor knows. I'm like, actually, no, I don't think I've shared it with him actually. And, but you talk to him. And I'm like, I mean, sure. I see him on Sundays. Yeah. We say hi. And so, you know, a ton of documentaries out right now, and that's where his head was going with this. Yeah. And I'm just like, it's not like what you think it is, right? And so he was really dead set on that. And I was getting upset, right? Because I'm like, look, that's not what this is. And it's fine that you don't understand. I don't need you to, you know, I don't need you to save me from anything, you know. And so there's, you know, people around and kind of listening. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I think about that because on the one hand, you know, you want to be surrounded by people that are encouraging you to grow and in whatever it is you're doing. Not that they completely agree with everything that you do, because that's not helpful either. But at the same time, I'm also like, well, in all this time of different areas of discomfort with different friends and several people I used to hang out with that now don't really want to even talk to me because I'm so Christian. You know, and all this time later, I'm now hearing from some of them how they've started exploring their faith. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, had I been so abrupt and just been like, well, we're not friends, you know, that outcome would not have happened. And so that's still a gray area for me to figure out, that I'm learning to navigate which ones are worth still keeping around. And, and not that I'm compromising my faith, not that I am, changing things so that they feel better about it or that they can stomach it better, but still living out who I am with what I believe, and that they would see an example of it.
Yeah.
I think about that conversation. I still talk to him and I still laugh about it. And his wife was like, "What's wrong with you? Why would you say that? She's not in a cult." What's up, guys? So yeah, it's hard to make that call.
Yeah.
And the whole point that you are just saying for that conversation you had with Polly, there are some that I can think of right now that exactly the same thing, I am a completely different person today, and thank God for that.
Yes.
And so, yeah, not every relationship is going to grow with you. Mm-hmm. Some do, and that's great, but not all of them do. And then do we keep them around? Are they holding us back with anything? Because that's something to consider too. Are they holding us back from growth? Because then maybe we should have that conversation with God about, are they worth keeping around? Is that person who he wants still in your life, kind of a thing, and what to do there. So yeah, I was just throwing that question out. I don't have an answer for you.
I was gonna say, I'm very much in process on that one, so I don't really have and here's the bow that we're gonna tie this answer into. No,
right?
It's ribbons everywhere. There's no bow.
Right. Because then I've heard of I know some people who nobody in their circle is an unbeliever, and I'm like, that's crazy. How does that happen? I have friends from all walks of life. I've just always been that person. I had friends in all the different circles. I was never my own circle, and so, yeah, what? Have you walked outside? Do you talk to people at all? There's a whole world out there of people that don't believe the same thing you believe.
Yeah.
And what an opportunity. What an opportunity. When I first started being intentional, and I felt like it was like a bubble for most Christians. You just lived in this bubble of church, and you just have your church friends, and you do your church things, and you read your Bible together, and then, or you listen to the Bible, but it's all very, you know what I mean? It's just one little bubble.
Yeah.
And you don't there's no secular music. There's no, and I feel like that was my understanding for how most Christians live their life. And I had met a ton of people like that. So it didn't come from nowhere.
Right.
But to be able to experience and see others and how they choose to branch out and love their neighbor without the intent of, I need you to believe what I believe for us to keep being friends.
Yes.
And there's no motive other than,
you're a human, and we can connect over the fact that we both are human.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm like, those of you that don't have a circle, your circle consists of 0 non-believers, what would happen if I showed up with my friends, or you know what I mean? Would you be uncomfortable? What happens then? Are you gonna be okay? Because we're fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm going to be like a fly on the wall when you show up with your friends who aren't Christians to the friends who are Christians.
I remember this one time I was doing a pop-up shop for cupcakes, and I was doing it at my girlfriend's location, X's and O's, in case anyone's wondering, over in Sterling. Shout out, Tara. Anyway, so I was hosting a pop-up shop, and so my friends would come, and it was always a fun time with them. They would just hang out with me. They would buy stuff, but they would just hang out with me. And I remember I had invited my small group, and I'm newer, right? And so one of the guys that came, the group leader, Jacob Pike. Hi, Jacob. And I don't know if I've ever had this conversation with him, but he showed up, and I was like, wow, that's so cool that he came, right? Yeah. But also I was a little concerned because my friends are a little rough around the edges. I came from a very eclectic background, and I've accumulated a lot of friends in different areas in my entire life, and I'm still cool with a lot of them. So I was really nervous how that interaction would go, and it went fine. Jacob was chill about it. At least he seemed chill about it, and he hung out. He didn't just come support and see these ruffians and dip out. He hung out. Jacob hung out for a little bit, and I was like, all right, I'm a little impressed with Jacob. All right. Because I thought he was very like straight edge, you know, wasn't going to be involved in anything like that. And not that we're doing anything wrong, but you know what I mean? And then my other friends, I'm like praying like, God, please let them be nice to him. You know, like don't say anything so off the wall. Because I mean, I've heard the things that come out of my friends' mouths sometimes. And, you know, like whatever, they were just themselves and everybody was fine. Everybody was fine.
But I think right there is where I think that's the thing. If you're just yourself, and, you know, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. You're not. And that's fine. You're not actually supposed to be everybody's cup of tea. But if you are you and the other person is fully them, then you find out real quick, are you my people or not? Are we going to have a deep friendship? Or are we going to be on the fringe kind of friends? And we need all of those kinds of relationships. Right, yeah. But I think that's the thing is that Jacob shows up as Jacob, no matter who he's with, no matter what the event is. And I think that's key, is that you just be you and you let the other person be who they are. And if it shakes out, great. If it doesn't, then you know, okay, you're not my person.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean one of you is right or wrong, one of you is bad or good. It's just, okay, this is not a friendship we're going to pursue. Totally fine.
Yeah. And
I feel like that changes things more than we realize if we just show up authentically who we are. Like we're not trying to fit whatever we think the situation is or what these people expect of us, or just be you.
I'm a little curious sometimes when somebody doesn't want to stick around me right after a while.
Like, can you give me a feedback form? Like, what was it about me that?
And not because I'm looking to change, because I'm really curious. What was the last straw for you?
Yeah.
What was the comment that came out of this mouth that you were like, no? Because I would love to know.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Just like walk around with a QR code. Could you scan this, please, and let me know how things went for you? What was it like on your end?
Thanks for playing. Oh man,
that's funny. What was it? What was the last straw for you? So if somebody was like, I'm out, Denise, it's interesting because I didn't catch it initially, but I think it's interesting about both of us that the way that you would perceive that about you and the way that I would perceive it about me is what's wrong with me that made you say, no, thanks. So there's just this assumption that it was something that we did wrong or that's unlikable about us, which is not necessarily true. Now, again, everybody's cup of tea? No, then that's okay because you're not supposed to be. But I just thought it was interesting that there was this assumption that somebody's not going to be friends with you because there's something wrong with you, when really, what if it's something on their end, or what if it's, you know, same for me, like it doesn't have to be my fault. It doesn't mean that one of us did something wrong. What if it's just that we're approaching things from a very different viewpoint, or whatever they feel passionately about is not the same thing that I feel passionately about. So it's not necessarily that someone's done something wrong.
I love that you started off with something was wrong with me. And for a long time, I had that mentality.
Me too.
So in the last few years, I'm very much more not. And so whatever, this is me. And as far as I'm concerned, I am actively trying to, you know, to follow Christ and his ways. I'm not deliberately out here trying to be a bad person. But I am, you know, sure, not everyone's cup of tea. I'm probably someone's shot of whiskey. And I like that analogy, you know, and I'm good with that now. And so the fact that I can be good with that and find enjoyment, and I would just love to know what the last, like, I respect it. We don't have to be cool. That's fine. I know there's no animosity.
Yeah.
But, like, I just really want to know what was the comment that came out of this mouth that was like, we're done. Because I just want to know and probably laugh about it later because you're probably right. And I get it and I don't fault you for it. Those are, you know, hilarious moments and things that we realize. And there are times that we're in those conversations and the person is really heated, like you said, passionate, because it's what they care about, you know, and we have a choice. We can focus on it being they're just trying to be mean and they're disrespectful and they're inconsiderate, or it's like, no, this is something that this person really cares about. That's why they're getting so hyper.
Yes.
You know, and so let's get down to that. I don't actually think most people are bad people. You know, I think mostly you start off trying to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Some things will change along the way based on your experiences in life. And so if you're feeling very strongly about something that this other person thinks that's so off the wall, like that had to come from somewhere. Like you had mentioned before, you know, what part of your story shaped this way of thinking and feeling, and looking at it from that perspective as like just something they're passionate about, and take that as a cue. Mm-hmm. Take that as like, hey, here's an opportunity, you know, and go with that instead. Just do that instead.
Yeah, and then you can find common ground usually.
Yeah.
Like, I love that you feel this passionately about this.
Yeah.
I just happen to see it this way, but something I also feel passionately about is blah, 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 whatever.
White chocolate raspberry cheesecake. Is that not what you're going to say?
No, white chocolate is not chocolate.
I know it's not. I agree with you. But white chocolate raspberry cheesecake from Cheesecake Factory is my favorite.
Then I think what we need to do is go have some of that so that maybe you can broaden my mind. That sounds like a great idea.
I'm down with that.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you know, when you said you're not everybody's cup of tea, but you are somebody's shot of whiskey, I have this piece of artwork that the amazing Tori Talahoon has, one of several. I forget, I counted one time how many pieces of her original creations I have. It's a lot. But something that I asked her to make for me is a teacup. But on the painting, it says she's whiskey in a teacup.
Oh, that's cute.
Because I feel like, other than John Ackerman, there are sides of my personality that I think a lot of people who feel like they know me, they would be surprised to see this side of me come out. And I think that's one of them, is like there's more fire in there than I think a lot of people get to see, because there are things that John and I will talk about, and he's just sitting there grinning, and I'm like, what? He's like, you're just really fired up about this. I'm like, I am fired up about this.
Spicy.
But like, not everybody gets to see that. So you're somebody's shot of whiskey, but I'm whiskey in a teacup.
Yeah. And not just, somebody's shot of whiskey. I'm somebody's favorite shot of whiskey. It's not like, oh, I don't want it again. It's like, oh, let's do it again.
Nice.
And I used to hide those parts of me too. Like not wanting to show all that because that's, I have a spicy side, and now I'm just like, whatever. You in or out? What are we doing? You playing in my sandbox, or you finding a new one? So there you have it, folks. There you have it. Somebody is passionate, it's because they care. So let's focus on that in our conversations.
Yes, let's be curious about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So hopefully you enjoyed this conversation, and you'll join us next time, and let us know if you're somebody's cup of tea or shot of whiskey or whiskey in a teacup, or what beverage are you, and what kind of receptacle is it in?
Yeah, like, are you a milkshake? Because what does that mean?
And does it bring all the boys to the yard?
Ooh.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod.
For more content, please be sure to like, follow, and share.
And you can email us at prodigalpeas@gmail.com.
For more information on Misfit of Creation, you can like and follow me on just about all social medias, to include TikTok. I also have a Facebook community group that you can join. I have an Etsy shop that has a lot of downloadable tools to help strengthen your walk with Christ. There is a Patreon account if you are looking to be a monthly supporter. And I also do an online prayer call once a month. So be sure to follow that to be updated on when the next date is.
You can find more information on my mental and emotional health coaching practice at blueprintheartandmind.com, where you can also access my blog and schedule a session with me. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So, Denise, what's next?
Hey, DJ, spin that track.
I get it now, I need to be myself, because a copycat can only do so well. In love with everything that makes me who I am. Don't need a backup plan, I hope they understand that I'm doing better today. I got me a mission that got some fruition, you down to stay out the way. Can't seek validation from people who hating, I got my mentality straight. Shout out to God, I've been keeping the first, you've been working and paving the way. And now I can guarantee you that's the way to live. Way to live. Promise that's the way to live. Way to live. Promise that's the way to live.
Oh my gosh. What is wrong with us?